At BizVision, our commitment to the conscious business agenda has grown steadily over the last 20 plus years. But I must admit, it's not been easy, as many businesses would rather play lip service to key elements such as compliance, quality, diversity, even health and safety. And some still do. But we pioneered on, knowing that around the world there are people much more committed than even ourselves with our conscious collection, our academy. Today, I'm taking you to Denver, Colorado to meet one of those truly committed people. You're about to meet the president and CEO of longstanding non-profit social enterprise Community Works Incorporated. Hello, Rob Leandrews.
Hi, Malcolm. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I've been so looking forward to talk to you, Rob, because you have achieved so much. You've had a fascinating career so far. It's not over yet, is it? A fascinating career. Playing for the Calgary Stampeders in the Canadian Football League, helping open a campaign office for Barack Obama. What an inspirational guy. And in the last 5 years, starting and managing 4 socially conscious startups. What drives you?
Well, I think that's a good question. Again, thanks for having me on the show. Really appreciate it. What drives me is equality, economic opportunity, economic justice for all. I think in a world where we have an abundance of resources, they should be spread out amongst all of us.
Yeah. I'm exceptionally with you, totally with you. Now, many people, though, regard the two words in the phrase social enterprise as opposed to each other. But I say nonprofits have to be enterprising in order to deliver their mission or their purpose. What's your thinking and parameters around this?
As the world changes, Malcolm, we're seeing less and less individual donors support nonprofit organizations. And with that being said, nonprofits have to become enterprises and determine how they're going to survive through entrepreneurship, innovation, and those things that you would do in a for-profit world. So it's about time that nonprofits are able to create socially conscious businesses within themselves that make them sustainable.
Excellent answer. Thank you, Rob. For over 20 years, we've been coaching nonprofits ourselves to help them compete for contracts, for example, to deliver their missions. It's been hard because so many have understood why they needed to be compliant and so on. But the stumbling block I found was often their trustees or boards who felt they should be excluded from such compliance matters because of their non-profit status. I suggest that is changing now, but very slowly. And COVID has especially hurt non-profit fundraising efforts, as you said. What do you say to such organizations in their desire to keep a focus on their purpose?
You know, the beauty of the nonprofit world is your purpose never really changes. What does change is how you go about your purpose. And if you want to evolve and become sustainable, you've got to change with the times, and you've got to look at what's going to make you sustainable in the future.
Very astute. Social change is slowly happening in the UK, especially through what's called the Social Value Act, which requires procurement contracts to almost demand true social value from those bidding for contracts. Do you think such legislation is the only way forward to create social change in this changing world, or can change happen through evolution in business?
Well, I think that legislation is the first way that it has to happen. If we talk about leadership in the country, there has to be a foundation of leadership or infrastructure set in place before business leaders can lead and change and evolve the industry to be what it is or what they would like to see it. So legislation, I think, is the first wave of change, but it can only go so far. You can only legislation only will take you so far, and then you need business leaders to step in and lead and become the industry thought leaders.
I personally feel, Rob, just as an aside though, that we've got a whole new generation, the millennials bubbling through, who are much more focused upon equality, diversity, climate, and so on, and that they will, just from the fact as they grow older, they will facilitate change. Any thoughts on that?
Millennials have had this focus for as long as we can remember on the social change and social aspect, which is going to lead us into a new industrial revolution. We're in the tech revolution now, and the next revolution will be social change and conscious capitalism.
Yes.
Conscious business.
Yeah. Excellent. I might be I might be in tune for once in my life. Yeah. Look, we believe that a conscious business cannot exist without a conscious leader.
Right.
What in your mind are the key attributes of a conscious leader?
Well, I think the conscious leader has to have an extraordinary ability to lead and understand what leadership is, because it's such a tough road when you're counted out and you're knocked down and things look bleak. You have to have answers that a normal organization wouldn't have to be prepared to answer, right? You're starting a new industry, you're a new sector, if you will. I think that's the first thing a leader of a social conscious business has to do. They have to have extraordinary leadership skills. I think the second thing is they've got to really communicate what the cause for the organization is or for the company. If they can communicate effectively the cause of the organization and the company, you'll have folks that will follow, and you'll have folks that will be determined to and be driven by that mission. And then third and final, I think that they have to have a clear structure in the business. You know, conscious business look very different than they do for-profit businesses. You're going to have a chief people officer in a conscious business who's going to really work on folks' leadership skills and make sure that they're able to live through the mission and vision and values. You're going to have folks that are looking for that triple bottom line in a conscious business where they're weighing profit versus mission and status. So those are three things that I've seen and I believe make a conscious business successful.
Are you thinking the triple bottom line is planet, people, and profits?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, there's another definition. I think people call it steadily, which is social, environmental, and economic. It's just keep the focus on what triple bottom line is. There's some excellent books out on it, though.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I want you to imagine that there's a CEO watching this, and we've got thousands around the world doing so, somewhere in the world, and he says, I like what Rob says, especially about aligning businesses with people's needs. How would you say that CEO should start living and implementing the socially conscious approach that you propose within his or her business?
Yeah, I think you touched on it a little bit earlier, the lip service, folks saying that I want to do this and not enacting those changes or not following through. If you're going to implement anything, it has to be just as important as the bottom line is. That profit number has to be just as important as opening and starting this new business. Because if you are this new sector, if you do not, then it's going to be the first to get cut. It's not going to bring you value immediately. The value you won't see for maybe 6 months to a year down the road, but the value will be there. So if we can have CEOs that are committed to thoroughly understanding what a conscious business is, creating a space for that conscious sector in their organization or their company, they'll see the value. They can see the value. So the first step, I believe, would be creating a space, whether you have to talk to your board of directors, whether you have to talk to investors, whoever you have to talk to, you have to be able to say, hey, I'm going to create this sector within the organization, within the company, that's going to target conscious thinking, conscious living, conscious working, and I need your support. And it's going to take some time before we see value or return back, but we will see it.
Excellent. Yes. I really like that approach. You've got to really embed it board level, haven't you? Otherwise it'll just drift away.
Yes.
Yeah. Rob, time for your pitch to the big business world. Yeah. Why should big businesses encourage more socially conscious startups? What's your sales pitch to them?
Big businesses are going to go the way of the consumer. We have to remember that we are the driving force for the businesses. So if we have more consumer insights that will lead us in that direction, the big businesses are going to be there. What I would say is we see an overwhelming amount of individuals, especially millennials, which is the largest group of folks we have on the planet, moving towards conscious business. So it only makes sense to align your business consciously. That's going to get you the biggest bang for the buck. And not just right now, but as we move down the line, the millennials are still going to be the largest group of generation that we have. What holds true now is going to hold true in 20 years.
Spot on, yeah.
Are still going to be there.
Now, just before I get into my final question, Rob, I just want to remind viewers that behind me on the screen there is your URL to pop along and see a lot more about Rob. I've been totally inspired when I was doing my research before this interview, and it's been so exciting to meet you. Final question though, Rob. I like to give all my guests 3 wishes. If I was to give you 3 wishes for actions or help for socially conscious businesses to be sustainably successful, what would your 3 wishes be?
That's a great question, Malcolm. I would say my 3 wishes would be, first, that socially conscious business have the same access to capital that for-profit businesses have. That would be a wish. The second wish would be that we have a socially conscious bank structure that allows for lending and allows for grant and different type of avenues to financial capital. And then my last wish would be that everyone recycles.
Yes.
Simple wish that we can all start doing today.
Yeah, virtually. And I think a lot of businesses are going further than that. Now they're talking about a circular economy. The big Swedish retailer IKEA just announced today that it will take back the products that you bought off it in exchange for vouchers to keep this circular economy. So many exciting developments that's ahead of us, Rob. I say, Rob Lee Andrews, I thoroughly enjoyed meeting you. I thoroughly enjoyed looking at all the exciting things you've achieved, and may you long continue to achieve them. Thanks for the interview.
Thank you so much.